In the quiet coastal town of Clearwater Bay, where fishing boats painted the harbor at dawn and seagulls announced each morning, lived a man named Thomas Reed. His hands were calloused from pulling nets, his face weathered from endless hours under the salt-sprayed sun. But his heart was full of dreams, not for himself, but for his family. Thomas worked as a commercial fisherman, starting before sunrise and returning long after sunset. The ocean was his office, the trawler his workspace. Some days brought bounty, most days brought just enough. But he never complained because every fish he caught meant food on the table for his wife Sarah and their son Marcus. Sarah Reed was a seamstress who worked from their small cottage, mending clothes for neighbors and creating simple garments that she sold at the weekend market. Her fingers were nimble, her patience endless. She was the one who taught Marcus his first words, who sang him to sleep every night, who believed he could be anything he wanted. Marcus showed brilliance early. While other children played on the docks, he was fascinated by the old computer at the library. He taught himself programming from borrowed books, staying up late by candlelight when the electricity bill forced them to ration power. "One day, Mom," young Marcus would say, eyes bright with possibility, "I'll build you the biggest house in California. You'll never have to sew another patch." Sarah would smile and kiss his forehead. "I'm already proud of you, sweetheart." But pride, as we'll learn, can be a double-edged sword. When Marcus turned 18, he received a scholarship to a prestigious university in San Francisco. Thomas sold his beloved fishing boat, the one his father had left him, to cover the remaining expenses. Sarah worked triple shifts, her fingers bleeding from needle pricks, to send care packages to their son. They sacrificed everything because that's what parents do. They believed in him completely. At graduation, Marcus stood among thousands, but his eyes searched for only two faces in the crowd. When he spotted them, Thomas in his only suit, 20 years old and tight at the shoulders, Sarah in her homemade dress, he waved with pure joy. That was the last time Marcus saw them as his greatest treasure. Silicon Valley has a way of transforming people. Within months of starting at a tech startup, Marcus began to see his background as a liability. Colleagues spoke of prep schools and European vacations. He spoke of nothing, erasing his past one conversation at a time. "Where are you from?" someone would ask. "Up north," he'd answer vaguely. "Small town. Nothing special. Nothing special." Those words would haunt him later. 5 years of grinding, coding through nights, and strategic networking paid off. Marcus launched an app that revolutionized food delivery. Within 18 months, he was worth $50 million. By year 3, his net worth crossed $200 million. He bought a mansion in Palo Alto, glass walls, infinity pool, views of the bay that once seemed like a distant dream. He drove a Tesla, wore custom suits, and attended galas where champagne flowed like water. His parents still lived in Clearwater Bay, in the same cottage with the creaking floors. They watched their son on the news, hearts swelling with pride even as months passed between phone calls. "He's busy building his empire," Thomas would tell Sarah when she stared at her silent phone. "We raised him right. He'll call when he can." But deep down, they both felt the distance growing, not in miles, but in memory. Like this story. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when Marcus's two worlds collide. Comment below. Where are you watching from? Los Angeles, Miami, Toronto, London, Sydney? And tell us, have you ever felt torn between your past and your future? Hit that notification bell because Chapter reveals the phone call that changes everything. Share this with someone who needs to remember, success without gratitude is just expensive emptiness. The call came during Marcus's most important meeting of the year. Venture capitalists filled his conference room, ready to discuss a merger worth $500 million. His phone buzzed, a Clearwater Bay number he hadn't seen in 6 months. He declined the call. It buzzed again. Declined again. The third time, his assistant whispered, "Sir, they say it's urgent." "Your father." Marcus felt his stomach drop, but he glanced at the room full of power suits and made a choice. "Tell him I'll call back in 2 hours." The meeting dragged on. When he finally stepped out, 5 missed calls glared from his screen. His hands trembled as he dialed. Marcus. His father's voice cracked like thin ice. Your mother. She collapsed yesterday. The doctors say it's her heart. Advanced valve disease. They can't treat it here. We need to take her to San Francisco, to the specialists. The world tilted. Is she okay? Is she? She's stable for now, but son, we need to move fast. We're taking the bus up tomorrow. I've used all our savings for the initial tests. I hate to ask, but we'll need your help with the hospital costs. Marcus should have said yes immediately. Should have offered to send a medical helicopter. Should have dropped everything. Instead he said, Dad, tomorrow's not good. I have commitments. Can you come next week? Silence stretched between them like an ocean. Marcus, your mother might not have a week. Reality crashed through his carefully constructed walls. Okay, come tomorrow. I'll handle it. But as he hung up, panic set in, not for his mother's health, but for his image. Next week, he was hosting a massive fundraiser at his mansion. Silicon Valley's elite would be there. Investors, celebrities, tech moguls. What would they think if they saw his parents? His father with sun-damaged skin and rough hands? His mother in her simple cotton dresses? He spent the evening pacing his marble floors, wrestling with a shame so toxic it poisoned every childhood memory. The boy who once proudly brought his parents to school events had become a man terrified of his own roots. His girlfriend Elena found him staring out at the infinity pool. She was a fashion model from Manhattan, beautiful and polished, who knew Marcus as the self-made billionaire who emerged fully formed from the Stanford incubator scene. Something wrong? She asked. My parents are coming tomorrow. Just for a day or two. That's wonderful. I'd love to meet them. Marcus's jaw tightened. They're different. Simple people. You might not connect. Elena frowned but said nothing. She'd learned that Marcus's past was a locked room he never opened. That night, Marcus made a decision that would haunt him forever. He texted his father, "Come to the side gate. I'll leave it open. We'll talk when you arrive." He didn't offer to pick them up from the bus station. Didn't send a car. Didn't tell his staff to prepare a guest room. Instead, he cleared out the garage, moving his Bentley and Porsche to the front drive, and set up a cot with blankets inside. Just for one night, he told himself. Just until after the fundraiser. Then he'd move them into the house. The lies we tell ourselves are always the most dangerous. At 2 a.m., unable to sleep, Marcus stood in his garage looking at the makeshift bed. The space smelled of motor oil and tire rubber. A single bulb hung from the ceiling, casting harsh shadows. He remembered being 7, sick with fever, and his mother sleeping on the floor beside his bed for 3 nights straight. He remembered his father missing the best fishing season in a decade to attend Marcus's middle school science fair. His chest tightened, but pride is a powerful anesthetic. It numbs us to our own cruelty. Tomorrow, he would ask the 2 people who sacrificed everything for him to hide in a garage like shameful secrets. And tomorrow, the universe would begin collecting its debt. The Greyhound bus pulled into San Francisco at dawn, exhausted and smelling of diesel and distant places. Thomas helped Sarah down the steps, his arm supporting her weight. She'd gotten thinner, he noticed with worry. Her breathing was labored, each step an effort. They stood on the curb with one old suitcase between them, looking up at the glass towers that seemed to scrape heaven itself. Neither had ever been to a city this large. The noise alone felt overwhelming. Sirens, horns, a million conversations blending into urban thunder. Should we call him? Sarah asked, clutching her husband's arm. Thomas checked his phone. One message from Marcus with an address and instructions to use the side entrance. Nothing about being picked up. Nothing about excitement to see them. He's busy, honey. Important meetings. We'll take a taxi. The taxi fare took a chunk from their emergency fund, but they didn't complain. The driver wound through neighborhoods where each house cost more than they'd earn in 10 lifetimes. Sarah pressed her face to the window, searching for her son in this alien landscape. When they arrived at Marcus's address, they stood in shocked silence. The mansion sprawled before them like something from a magazine, all glass and steel, landscaped gardens, a fountain in the circular drive. "Our boy did this," Sarah whispered, tears forming. "Our Marcus." Pride and pain warred in Thomas's chest. Pride that his son had succeeded beyond imagination. Pain that success had somehow required distance. They found the side gate as instructed. It was unlocked. The path led not to the front door but around the house, past the pool, to a 3-car garage. The door was open. Inside, they saw the cot, the thin blankets, the single bulb. Sarah stopped walking. "Thomas. Maybe it's temporary," he said quickly. "Just until he sorts things out. The house is probably full of guests." But they both knew. In the knowing was a grief that had no words. They entered the garage quietly, as if they were trespassing. Sarah sat on the cot, the springs creaking under her slight weight. She looked around at the concrete walls, the oil stains on the floor, the gardening tools stacked in the corner. "This is where we sleep?" she asked, not accusingly, just trying to understand. Thomas knelt beside her, taking her hands. "He's different now. This world, it's not like home. We need to understand that." "I do understand," she said softly. "I understand that we raised him in a house full of love, and he's put us in a garage full of shame." The truth hung between them like smoke. Hours passed. They heard sounds from the house. Music, laughter, the clinking of glasses. At one point, a woman's voice drifted out, "Marcus, your event planner is here." The fundraiser. They were hiding his parents because of a party. Evening came. Sarah's breathing grew more labored. The concrete floor made the space cold despite the California sun. Thomas gave her his jacket, his sweater, anything to keep her warm. "I need my medication," she whispered. "It's in my bag." Thomas found the prescription bottle. 1 pill left. They'd counted on Marcus refilling it immediately, on seeing doctors right away. "I'll find Marcus," Thomas said, standing. "No." Sarah grabbed his hand. "Don't beg our own son for attention. If he wants to see us, he knows where we are." So they waited. And waited. The sounds of preparation grew louder. Caterers arrived. Voices multiplied. Through a small window, Thomas glimpsed people in expensive clothes, jewels catching light, everyone beautiful and untouchable. Near midnight, the garage door suddenly rolled up. Marcus stood there, backlit by mansion lights, wearing a tuxedo that cost more than a fishing boat. "Dad. Mom." He glanced behind him nervously. "I'm sorry, I've been swamped. How are you feeling, Mom?" Sarah looked at her son, this stranger in expensive fabric, and something inside her broke quietly, like a glass shattering underwater where no one can hear. "I'm fine," she lied, "because mothers protect their children even when their children won't protect them." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "The fundraiser's tomorrow night. Huge event. Lots of important people. I need you both to stay here during it. Just for one night. Then we'll figure everything out. Get you to doctors. I promise." "One night," Thomas repeated numbly. "Yeah. Just keep quiet, okay? I'll bring food. You won't even know there's an event happening." Sarah turned her face away. Marcus stood there for a moment, waiting for forgiveness or understanding or permission for his cruelty. When none came, he retreated, the garage door rolling down like a verdict. In the darkness, Sarah began to cry. Softly at first, then with shaking shoulders that made Thomas's heart crack clean through. "We should leave," she said. "Go home. We don't belong in our son's life anymore." "Don't say that. He's just confused. Success changed him, but he's still our boy." But was he? Or had they lost him somewhere between Clearwater Bay and Silicon Valley, between fishing nets and net worth? between the son who promised everything and the man who gave them nothing but a garage floor? Outside, Marcus stood in his luxurious kitchen, hands trembling as he poured whiskey he didn't want. He told himself this was temporary, necessary, that they'd understand. But understanding and forgiving are not the same thing. And some choices, once made, can never be unmade. The day of the fundraiser arrived dressed in California sunshine and Marcus's mounting anxiety. His mansion transformed into an event venue, string lights crisscrossing the pool area, champagne towers on every surface, a live jazz band setting up in the garden. Elena moved through the space, stunning in a silver gown, making sure every detail gleamed with perfection. "This is going to be incredible," she said, squeezing Marcus's hand. "Everyone who matters is coming. Everyone who matters." The words echoed strangely in Marcus's mind as he thought of the two people in his garage who mattered more than anyone, yet were treated as if they didn't exist at all. "I'll be right back," he muttered, slipping away. In the garage, his parents sat on the cot, looking smaller somehow, as if shame could shrink a person's physical form. Sarah's breathing rattled. Thomas held her hand, speaking in low, comforting tones. "Hey," Marcus said awkwardly. "I brought breakfast." He set down a tray with bagels and coffee, expensive, artisanal, the kind of meal his parents could never have imagined existed. "Thank you," Thomas said quietly. Sarah said nothing. She wouldn't meet her son's eyes. "Mom, are you okay? Do you need anything?" She looked up then, and Marcus flinched at what he saw. Not anger. Worse. Disappointment so profound it had carved new lines in her face overnight. "I need my son," she said simply. "But I don't think he's here anymore." The words hit like a physical blow, but Marcus's defense mechanisms kicked in. "That's not fair. I'm trying to help. I just need one evening to handle this event, then." "Then what? You'll acknowledge us? You'll stop being ashamed of where you came from?" "I'm not ashamed." But his voice cracked on the lie. "You are," she said, softer now. "And that's the saddest thing I've ever witnessed. We raised you to be proud of hard work, honest hands, simple love. When did those become things to hide?" Marcus had no answer. He mumbled something about the guests arriving soon, about needing them to stay quiet, and fled back to his pristine world. By evening, the mansion glittered with wealth and power. Tech executives mingled with celebrities. Politicians laughed with venture capitalists. Everyone was beautiful, successful, connected. Marcus moved through the crowd, playing the perfect host, accepting congratulations on his latest acquisition. "Marcus." A board member clapped his shoulder. "Heard your parents still live in some fishing village. Old school, man. Respect." Marcus's smile froze. "Yeah, they like the quiet life. Must be nice having them visit though." "Oh, they're not. They couldn't make it this trip." The lie came so easily now, smooth as the champagne he was serving. In the garage, Sarah's condition worsened. Her chest pain intensified. Thomas grew frantic, helping her lie down, checking her pulse with shaking fingers. "I need to get Marcus," he insisted. "No," she gasped. "Don't interrupt his party. His important party with his important people. You're dying. Then let me die with some dignity. Not begging my son to remember I exist." But Thomas couldn't watch his wife suffer. He slipped out the side door and made his way toward the house. The music was loud, laughter louder. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, he saw his son, confident, radiant, belonging to a world that had no room for fishermen. He was about to knock when he heard voices nearby. "Is that one of the valets?" someone asked. "No idea. Looks lost." Thomas caught sight of his reflection in the glass, sun-weathered skin, threadbare jacket, work boots on marble tiles. He looked like an intruder in his own son's life. He turned back. Inside the garage, Sarah was unconscious. Thomas's shout for help went unheard under the party noise. He had no choice. He burst through the side door, stumbling into the catered kitchen. Staff stared. A woman screamed. Thomas, wild-eyed and desperate, pushed past them toward the main room. "Help! I need help. My wife." The music stopped. Conversations died. 200 pairs of eyes turned toward the rough-looking old man who'd somehow broken into Marcus Reed's exclusive fundraiser. Marcus froze, champagne glass halfway to his lips. The moment stretched into eternity. He saw his father, truly saw him, breathless, terrified, begging for help. And in that instant, Marcus had to make a choice. Acknowledge him, or protect his image. "Security," he heard himself say. "Can someone?" "Marcus." Thomas's voice cracked. "It's your mother. She's in the garage. She can't breathe." The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to detonate. Garage. Mother. The truth assembled itself in the minds of every guest. Elena gasped. "Your mother is here?" "In the garage," someone whispered, the whisper multiplying, spreading like wildfire. Marcus's carefully constructed world began to crumble, brick by expensive brick. The silence that followed Thomas's desperate plea was deafening. 200 of Silicon Valley's most influential people stood frozen, champagne glasses suspended mid-air, faces shifting from confusion to horror to judgment. Marcus felt his soul leave his body. "Dad, what are you?" "Your mother." Thomas roared, a sound more animal than human, born from love and terror. "She's dying in that garage where you put us." The words landed like grenades. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. A tech journalist's eyes lit up with the recognition of a career-making story. Marcus's legs moved before his brain caught up. He pushed through the crowd, his father stumbling behind him, both running toward the garage. Behind them, guests spilled out like a disturbed anthill, following the scandal. The garage door stood open. Sarah lay on the cot, lips blue, hand clutched to her chest. Her breathing came in terrible, rattling gasps. "Call 911. Marcus screamed, dropping to his knees beside her. "Mom! Mom, stay with me." Elena appeared, phone already dialing. Several guests crowded the entrance, taking in the scene, the makeshift bed, the thin blankets, the concrete floor, the clear evidence that Marcus Reed, billionaire philanthropist, had hidden his sick parents in a garage like shameful secrets. "Get back." Thomas shoved people away, cradling his wife's head. "Give her space." But the damage was done. Phones were out. Photos snapping. Videos recording. The story was already writing itself. Tech mogul's dark secret. Elderly parents hidden during exclusive fundraiser. Sarah's eyes fluttered open. She saw Marcus, saw the tears streaming down his face, saw the crowd of strangers witnessing her humiliation. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't cry for me now. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The ambulance is coming. You're going to be okay." "Am I?" She coughed, a horrible wet sound. "Or did you already decide I'm an embarrassment to your brand?" The words cut deeper than any knife. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't defend himself, because she was right. She was absolutely right. Sirens wailed in the distance. Elena knelt beside him, seeing her boyfriend clearly for the first time. "Marcus, how could you?" He had no answer. The paramedics arrived, pushing through the crowd of overdressed onlookers. They loaded Sarah onto a stretcher with practiced efficiency, asking questions Thomas answered while Marcus stood useless and mute. "I'm riding with her," Thomas announced, climbing into the ambulance. He looked at his son one last time. "You've got your party to finish." The ambulance doors slammed shut like a coffin lid. Marcus stood in his driveway, tuxedo perfect, life destroyed, watching the red lights disappear into the night. Behind him, the whispers grew louder. He made them sleep in the garage? His own parents? While throwing a party worth $500,000? Who does that? A monster, that's who. Marcus turned to face the crowd. Some faces showed pity. Most showed disgust. A few showed the gleeful satisfaction of watching the powerful fall. "Everyone, please," he started. "This is a misunderstanding. We saw the cot," someone interrupted. "We heard your father. There's no misunderstanding possible here." One by one, guests began to leave. Not angrily. Worse. Quietly. The silence of people who had made up their minds and found Marcus wanting. Elena stood at the door, her silver gown catching the light, looking like a disappointed angel. "Did you even tell them about me?" she asked. "About your life? Or was I another thing they weren't good enough to know about?" Elena. "Don't. Just don't." She walked to her car, heels clicking against marble like a countdown to loneliness. Within an hour, the mansion was empty. Catering staff cleaned up in judgmental silence. The jazz band packed their instruments and left without collecting their fee, as if money from Marcus Reed had become contaminated. Marcus sat alone by his infinity pool, watching lights reflect on water, thinking about a small cottage in Clearwater Bay where his parents had gone without dinner so he could have seconds. Where they'd stayed up late, mending his clothes, reading him stories, believing he would be someone special. He'd become someone special, all right. Especially cruel. Especially ungrateful. Especially lost. His phone exploded with notifications. The story was everywhere. Social media already had hashtags. Hashtag garage parents, hashtag readshame, hashtag techbrothers. His company's stock was tumbling. Board members were calling emergency meetings. Sponsorship deals were being reconsidered. But none of that mattered. What mattered was lying in a hospital bed, hooked to machines, wondering if a son had ever loved her at all. Marcus's tears finally came then, great heaving sobs that shook his whole body. He cried for what he'd done. For what he'd become. For the boy who'd promised his mother the world and instead gave her a garage floor. Dawn found him still there, soaked in pool water and regret, his phone full of messages he couldn't bear to read, his heart full of shame he didn't know how to carry. San Francisco General Hospital at dawn is a liminal space where hope and despair hold hands in fluorescent-lit hallways. Marcus arrived looking nothing like the polished tech mogul from the night before. His tuxedo was wrinkled, his eyes swollen from crying, his hair uncombed. He looked, for the first time in years, human. The ICU reception desk was staffed by a nurse who'd clearly seen the viral videos. Her eyes narrowed as he approached. "Sarah Reed," he said quietly. "My mother. She was admitted last night. Heart failure." The nurse's expression could have frozen lava. "Room 412. ICU visiting hours don't start until. Please." His voice cracked. "Please, I need to see her." Something in his brokenness must have moved her because she sighed and waved him through. 10 minutes. "Your father's been here all night." Marcus walked the corridors like a man heading to his own execution. Every step carried the weight of his mistakes. The shame was physical now, a thing he could feel pressing on his chest, stealing his breath. Room 412 was dim, quiet except for the rhythmic beeping of monitors. Sarah lay small and pale against white sheets, tubes and wires connecting her to machines that were keeping her alive. Thomas sat beside her in a plastic chair, holding her hand, looking like he'd aged 20 years overnight. He looked up when Marcus entered. No anger in his eyes. Worse. Nothing. Just emptiness. "How is she?" Marcus whispered. "The doctors say the next 24 hours are critical. The stress triggered a severe cardiac event. They're doing everything they can." Marcus moved closer, every step requiring courage he didn't know he possessed. Up close, he could see how fragile his mother had become. When had she gotten so thin? When had those lines appeared around her eyes? "Dad, I don't." Thomas's voice was flat. "Not now. Not here. She needs peace." They sat in silence, two men watching a woman struggle to breathe, both knowing whose fault this was. Hours passed. Nurses came and went, checking vitals, adjusting medications. A doctor stopped by, young, tired, carrying the weight of too many life and death decisions. Mr. Reed? I'm Dr. Patel. Your mother's condition is stable but serious. The valve disease is advanced. She'll need surgery, but we can't operate until she's stronger. The emotional distress significantly complicated things. Emotional distress. Such clinical words for heartbreak. Will she be okay? Marcus asked. Dr. Patel looked at him with something that might have been pity. I've read the articles. I know what happened. Honestly, the physical damage we can probably repair. The emotional damage. She shook her head. That's beyond my specialty. After she left, Marcus finally broke. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know how I became this person. Thomas was quiet for a long time. Then, I do. You got everything you ever wanted, and you forgot the price it cost. Your mother went without meals so you could eat. I worked until my hands bled so you could have books. We believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. And you repaid us by hiding us like dirty secrets. I know, and I hate myself for it. Good. You should. Thomas stood, stretching his aching back. I need coffee. When I come back, I want you gone. But you've done enough, Marcus. Your mother needs to heal, and she can't do that with you here. Every time she sees you, she remembers that garage. Every time she hears your voice, she remembers being ashamed of. The truth was a hammer blow. Marcus nodded, tears streaming down his face. He approached his mother's bedside, carefully taking her hand, the hand that had fed him, bathed him, held him through every childhood fear. Mom, he whispered. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I need you to know. Everything I achieved, every success, it's because of you. Because you believed I could be better. I just forgot that being better meant being grateful, being humble, being human. Sarah's eyes fluttered but didn't open. The machines beeped their steady rhythm, indifferent to his confession. I'm going to fix this. I don't know how, but I will. I'll make you proud again. I promise. He kissed her forehead, something he hadn't done in years, and left the room. In the hallway, he passed Thomas returning with 2 coffees. I'll pay for everything, Marcus said. The surgery, the care, everything. And I'll stay away until she wants to see me. Thomas nodded, face unreadable. That might be a very long time, son. I know. I'll wait. However long it takes. Marcus walked out of the hospital into bright California morning. The world looked different somehow. The colors too sharp, the sounds too loud. He felt exposed, raw, like he'd been turned inside out. His phone buzzed constantly, reporters requesting comment, colleagues expressing concern, lawyers advising silence. He ignored all of it. There was only one place he needed to go. Home. Not his mansion in Palo Alto, but home. Clearwater Bay, where he'd once been happy, where he'd once been real, where maybe, just maybe, he could remember who he used to be before ambition poisoned everything good inside him. He pulled out his phone and booked a ticket. Not first class. Not business. Coach, squeezed between strangers. Exactly what he deserved. Before he left, he sent one message to his assistant. Liquidate the fundraiser proceeds. Donate everything to cardiac care programs for low-income families. Also, I'm resigning as CEO effective immediately. Find someone better than me. Shouldn't be hard. Then he turned off his phone and drove toward the airport, leaving behind his empire, his reputation, and everything he'd thought mattered. All that remained was a son trying to figure out how to become worthy of the parents who'd never stopped loving him, even when he stopped deserving it. The bus to Clearwater Bay was nothing like the luxury vehicles Marcus had grown accustomed to. It smelled of old upholstery and someone's fried chicken, the seats were cramped, and every pothole sent a jolt through his spine. He welcomed every uncomfortable moment. Penance came in many forms. As the landscape shifted from urban sprawl to coastal highway, memories ambushed him. That stretch of beach where his dad taught him to cast a fishing line. The roadside stand where his mom would buy fresh strawberries, splitting one between them because money was tight. The lighthouse that once seemed impossibly tall to a 10-year-old boy who dreamed of touching the clouds. When had he stopped seeing beauty in simple things? When had a sunset over the ocean become less valuable than a sunset view from a penthouse? The bus pulled into Clearwater Bay's tiny station as afternoon light painted everything gold. The town hadn't changed. Still small, still quiet, still the opposite of everything Silicon Valley represented. Local shops lined Main Street. Fishing boats bobbed in the harbor. Old men sat outside the bait shop, sharing stories and thermoses of coffee. Marcus stepped off the bus carrying nothing but a backpack. Within seconds, he felt eyes on him. News traveled fast in small towns, and the internet had made sure everyone knew what their local boy made good had done. He walked toward his childhood home, feet remembering the path even as his heart dreaded the arrival. The cottage looked smaller than he remembered, paint peeling, garden overgrown. The front steps creaked, the same creak from 20 years ago that his father had always meant to fix but never had time for because he was too busy working to feed his family. The door was unlocked. Country Trust. Marcus pushed it open. Inside, everything was frozen in time. The couch he'd done homework on. The kitchen table where they'd shared 1,000 meals. His mother's sewing machine in the corner. Half-finished projects still pinned and waiting. Photos on every wall. Marcus at every age, every milestone, loved and documented and celebrated. He sank into his father's chair and wept. Not the sophisticated tears of a CEO facing a PR crisis, but the raw, ugly crying of a child who'd broken something precious and couldn't figure out how to put it back together. A knock at the door startled him. He opened it to find Mrs. Chen, the neighbor who used to give him homemade dumplings after school. She didn't smile. "Marcus." "Mrs. Chen. Your parents called me before they left. Asked me to check on the house." She handed him a casserole dish. "This is for you, though I'm not sure you deserve it." "I don't," he admitted. She studied him with the unflinching gaze of someone who'd known him since he wore Spider-Man pajamas. "Your mother used to brag about you to everyone. Showed us every article, every interview. My son did this, my son achieved that. We were all so proud of you, Marcus. Proud that one of our own made it big." Past tense. The weight of it crushed him. "Then we saw the videos," she continued. "Saw how you treated them. In this town, we take care of our own. We work hard, we sacrifice, but we never forget where we came from. You did though, didn't you?" "Yes, ma'am. I did." "Why are you here? Damage control? Want to be photographed in your humble hometown to fix your image?" "No. I'm here because I don't know where else to go. I'm here because this is the last place I was actually me, before I became whatever I turned into." Mrs. Chen's expression softened slightly. "Your mother is a saint, Marcus. She forgave you before you even hurt her. That's what mothers do. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust. You want her to trust you again? You'll have to earn it. And that's not a week project or a month project. That's a lifetime project." "I know. Do you?" "Because I've seen a lot of people come back to towns like this, tails between their legs, thinking a few good deeds will erase years of neglect. It doesn't work that way. Real change requires real work." After she left, Marcus sat with those words. Real change. Real work. He'd conquered the tech world with innovative thinking and relentless execution. Could he apply that same dedication to becoming human again? He spent the evening cleaning his parents' house. Scrubbing floors, fixing the leaky faucet his dad had mentioned years ago, tending to the garden his mother loved. Physical work felt good, honest, purposeful, the kind of tired that came from creating rather than consuming. As night fell, he sat on the porch steps, listening to the ocean. His phone, turned back on, showed hundreds of messages. Board members demanding meetings. Investors threatening lawsuits. Former friends distancing themselves. One message stood out. From Elena. I saw that you resigned and donated the fundraiser money. It doesn't fix what you did, but it's a start. Your mother is stable. She asked about you. Your dad wouldn't let her know you were there. She said, tell him I hope he's okay. Even now, Marcus. Even after everything, she's worried about you. Fresh tears came. How could she still care? How could she still, after everything, be more concerned about his well-being than her own? That was love. Pure, unconditional, unearned love. The kind he'd thrown away because it didn't fit the image he wanted to project. His phone rang. A Clearwater Bay number. Hello. Marcus Reed? This is Sheriff Tom Davidson. I heard you were back in town. Marcus's heart sank. Had he broken some law? Was he being run out of town? I'm calling because we need volunteers for the community center fundraiser. It's for after-school programs for kids whose parents work the boats. Long hours, you know. Kids need somewhere safe to go. Okay. Your mom volunteered there every Tuesday for 15 years. Taught sewing, helped with homework, made sure every kid had a snack. When she left for San Francisco, the program nearly collapsed. We're trying to keep it going. Thought maybe you'd want to help. Unless you're too important for that sort of thing. The challenge in his voice was clear. When do I start? Tomorrow. 3 p.m. Don't be late. These kids don't have time for people who make promises they don't keep. The line went dead. Marcus sat there, phone in hand, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Not the hollow purpose of acquiring more wealth or closing another deal, but real purpose. The kind that helped people. The kind his parents had lived by their entire lives. He looked at the stars, clearer here than they'd ever been in the city, and made a vow. I'm going to earn my way back, Mom. Not with money. Not with grand gestures. But with time, with work, with becoming the son you raised me to be. However long it takes. The ocean whispered its approval, waves crashing in their eternal rhythm, patient and persistent. Just like real change. The Clearwater Bay Community Center was a weathered building that had seen better decades. Paint peeled from the walls, the roof leaked in 3 places, and the basketball hoop outside hung crooked like a broken promise. But inside, 15 kids between ages 7 and 12 filled the space with noise, energy, and the specific chaos that comes from young people testing every boundary. Marcus arrived at 2:45 p.m., 15 minutes early. He'd traded his designer clothes for jeans and a plain t-shirt from his high school years, found in a box at his parents' house. It barely fit anymore. Success had afforded him gym memberships and personal trainers, but wearing it felt right. Humbling. The program coordinator, a stern woman named Janet who'd taught 3rd grade for 40 years, looked him up and down with frank skepticism. You're Thomas and Sarah's boy. Yes, ma'am. Heard what you did. Newspapers, internet, everywhere. Shameful. Yes, ma'am. I don't care if you're a billionaire or a beggar. In here, you're just another volunteer. You'll clean, you'll tutor, you'll listen, and you'll do whatever needs doing. These kids have enough disappointment in their lives. You let them down, and you'll answer to me. Understood. Yes, ma'am. She almost smiled. Almost. Your mother used to sit right there, she pointed to a corner with a worn armchair, mending clothes and listening to kids read. They loved her. She made everyone feel special. Think you can do that? Marcus's throat tightened. I can try. Trying isn't doing. But it's a start. The afternoon was humbling in ways Marcus couldn't have anticipated. These weren't Silicon Valley kids with every advantage. These were children of fishermen, cannery workers, store clerks, people who worked brutal hours for modest pay, just like his parents had. A 7-year-old named Amy struggled with reading. She got frustrated quickly, throwing her book down. I'm stupid. Everyone says so. Marcus knelt beside her, remembering a tutor his mother had bartered for, traded sewing work for reading lessons when Marcus struggled in second grade. You're not stupid. Reading is hard. It was hard for me too. She looked at him suspiciously. Really? Really? I couldn't read until second grade. Other kids made fun of me. But someone patient helped me practice, and eventually, it clicked. They worked through the book together, slowly. When Amy successfully read a whole page, her face lit up like sunrise. I did it. You did it, Marcus confirmed, feeling his heart crack open in a good way. That's what his mother must have felt. That simple joy of helping someone discover they were capable of more than they believed. Across the room, two boys fought over a basketball. Marcus intervened, but instead of pulling rank or lecturing, he challenged them to a game of horse. He lost spectacularly. His expensive gym workouts hadn't included playground basketball skills, and the boys laughed, their argument forgotten. By the time 6 p.m. arrived, Marcus was exhausted. Not the mental fatigue of board meetings, but the physical, emotional exhaustion of being fully present for other people. It felt earned. Real. Janet approached as he helped sweep up. You did okay today. The kids didn't hate you. High praise, apparently. Same time Thursday, she asked. I'll be here. Over the following weeks, Marcus became a fixture at the community center. He showed up early, stayed late, and did whatever was needed. He fixed the leaky roof using YouTube tutorials and borrowed tools. He tutored kids in math and science. He listened to an elderly volunteer named Mr. Patterson tell fishing stories that always ended with, "And that's why you never disrespect the ocean." The townspeople watched him, skeptical but curious. Was this genuine or performance? Would he disappear the moment his reputation was restored? Marcus knew they had every right to doubt him. Words were cheap. Only consistent action over time would prove anything. One evening, he was painting the community center's exterior when a familiar truck pulled up. His father climbed out, looking thinner and older than Marcus remembered from just a few weeks ago. Dad. Marcus set down his brush, heart hammering. How's Mom? Stable. Surgery is scheduled for next week. She's stronger now. Thomas looked at the half-painted wall. Heard you've been helping out around town. I'm trying to. Janet says you haven't missed a day. Mrs. Chen says you fixed her fence. Sheriff Davidson says you organized a beach cleanup. Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable with praise. It's nothing. It's not nothing. Thomas stepped closer. But it's also not enough. Not yet. The word stung, but Marcus nodded. I know. Your mother. She's afraid to hope. Every time you called over the years, promising to visit and then canceling, it broke her heart a little more. She learned not to believe you. That's what you did, son. You taught her not to trust your word. Marcus's eyes burned. How do I fix that? Time. Consistency. Years of showing up, not just weeks. Maybe not even then. Thomas sighed, suddenly looking ancient. I didn't come to lecture you. I came because your mother asked me to give you this. He handed Marcus a worn envelope. Inside was a letter written in his mother's careful handwriting. My dear Marcus, your father didn't want me to write this. He says I forgive too easily, that I should let you suffer longer. Maybe he's right. But I'm your mother, and mothers can't help but hope. I've been thinking about the garage. About that night. And I realized something. You didn't stop loving us. You started loving something else more. The image you created, the person you wanted people to think you were. You loved your reputation more than your truth. That's a lonely way to live, baby. I should know. I've watched it hollow you out from the inside. I don't know if we can fix what's broken between us. Trust, once shattered, is hard to rebuild. But I want you to know this. I'm proud of the boy you were. I'm ashamed of the man you became. And I'm curious about the man you're trying to become now. Come visit me after the surgery. Not in a fancy car with expensive gifts. Come as my son, nothing more and nothing less. We'll see if that's enough. I love you. I always have. But love without respect is just pity, and I won't pity my own child. Mom. Marcus read the letter 3 times, tears falling freely. His father watched in silence. She's giving me another chance, Marcus whispered. She's giving you an opportunity to earn another chance, Thomas corrected. Don't waste it. After his father left, Marcus sat on the community center steps, holding his mother's letter like scripture. Around him, Clearwater Bay settled into evening. Fishing boats returned to harbor. Families sat down to dinner. Life continued in its simple, profound rhythm. For the first time in years, Marcus didn't feel the need to be anywhere else, to be anyone else, to achieve anything more than this. Being present, being useful, being human. It wasn't enough yet. But it was real. And real was where redemption began. San Francisco General Hospital, 5:47 a.m. The surgery waiting room smelled of industrial coffee and anxiety. Marcus sat in a hard plastic chair, hands clasped, watching the clock with the intensity of someone waiting for a verdict on their soul. His father was somewhere in the pre-op area with Sarah, holding her hand, whispering encouragement. Marcus had been told to wait here. He wasn't ready to see her yet. Or rather, she wasn't ready to see him. 2 months had passed since that horrible night. 2 months of volunteer work, of fixing things, of showing up. The town's skepticism had softened into cautious acceptance. The kids at the community center now ran to him when he arrived. Mrs. Chen had even smiled at him last week, though she'd immediately pretended she hadn't. But none of that mattered if his mother didn't survive this surgery. The procedure was risky. Valve replacement on a heart weakened by stress and neglect. Dr. Patel had been frank. The surgery itself should go fine. But recovery depends on her will to live. Heartbreak is more dangerous than heart disease sometimes. Marcus had carried those words like stones in his chest. Elena appeared in the doorway, surprising him. They hadn't spoken since that night, though he'd seen her posts supporting cardiac care charities. Her way of doing good from the disaster. Elena? What are you doing here? She sat 2 chairs away. Close, but not too close. Your mom shouldn't wake up to an empty waiting room. Even if you're here, it still feels empty without more people who care. You barely know her. I know what she means to you. Or what she should mean. Elena studied him. You look different. Thinner. Tired. I've been working. Real work. The kind that makes you sore and dirty and actually matters. She smiled slightly. I saw the articles. Disgraced tech CEO becomes small-town volunteer. They're writing about your redemption arc. I don't care about the articles. I just want her to live. That's new. The old Marcus would have been managing the PR. He nodded slowly. The old Marcus was an idiot. They sat in silence, waiting. Other families came and went. A woman got good news and cried with relief. A man got bad news and collapsed into himself. The hospital moved through its rhythms of hope and devastation, indifferent to individual stories. At 9:15 a.m., Dr. Patel emerged, still in surgical scrubs. Marcus shot to his feet. The surgery went well, she said immediately, and Marcus's legs nearly gave out. We replaced the valve, repaired some additional damage. She's in recovery now. Next 72 hours are critical, but her vital signs are strong. Can I see her? Your father's with her. She's not awake yet. When she is. Dr. Patel paused. Mr. Reed, I'm going to be direct. Your mother's physical heart will heal. But she needs reasons to use it. She needs reasons to keep fighting. Make sure you give her those reasons. He understood. She wasn't just talking about recovery. She was talking about whether life was worth living when your own child had rejected you. I will. I swear I will. Hours passed. Thomas emerged looking exhausted but relieved. He saw Elena and nodded gratefully. "Thank you for coming." "How is she?" Marcus asked. "Sleeping. The surgery was hard on her." Thomas sank into a chair. "She woke up briefly. First thing she asked was if you were here." Marcus's heart lurched. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That you've been here since before dawn. That you haven't left." Thomas met his eyes. "She said, good. Then she went back to sleep." "Good." One word, but it felt like a door opening slightly. Not forgiveness. Not trust. But acknowledgement. He existed again in her thoughts as something other than disappointment. "Can I see her?" Marcus asked. "Just for a minute." Thomas considered. "Room 412. Same as last time. Don't wake her. And Marcus, don't make promises. She's had enough of those." Marcus walked the familiar path to her room, each step measured and careful. The door was half open. He pushed it gently. Sarah looked smaller than ever, dwarfed by hospital equipment. But her color was better. Her breathing steady. The monitors showed a heart beating strong despite everything. He approached quietly, stood at her bedside, watching her sleep. Without makeup or pretense, she was just Mom, the woman who'd read him stories, who'd held him through nightmares, who'd believed he'd changed the world. He had changed the world. Just not in ways that mattered. "I'm here, Mom," he whispered. "I'm right here. And I'm not going anywhere." Her eyes fluttered but didn't open. Her hand twitched. Without thinking, Marcus took it gently, carefully, as if holding something infinitely precious and breakable. "I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I hurt you in ways that maybe can't heal. But I'm going to spend every day trying to be worth your love again. Not because I want something from you, but because you deserve a son who honors what you sacrificed." Her fingers squeezed his. Barely. But it was there. "I found your old sewing machine in the cottage," he continued, tears falling freely now. "Remember how you taught me to sew buttons? I was terrible at it. Pricked my finger 100 times. But you were so patient. You said, anything worth doing is worth doing badly until you learn to do it well." Her lips moved slightly. Almost a smile. "I'm learning, Mom. I'm learning how to be decent again. How to be grateful. How to be your son." A nurse appeared in the doorway, saw him, and discreetly withdrew. Marcus stood there, holding his mother's hand, until Thomas touched his shoulder. "Let her rest, son." Marcus nodded, gently released her hand, and backed away. But before he reached the door, he heard it. Soft. Barely audible. But unmistakable. "Marcus." He turned. Her eyes were open, looking directly at him. "Yes, Mom. Come back. Tomorrow." 3 words. The most beautiful 3 words he'd ever heard. "I will. I promise. Keep your promises, this time. I will. Every single one. For the rest of my life." She closed her eyes again, exhausted by even that brief exchange. But the faintest smile touched her lips. In the hallway, Marcus broke down completely. Elena held him while he sobbed. Thomas stood nearby, hand on his son's shoulder, saying nothing because nothing needed to be said. Some doors, once slammed shut, can open again. Not easily. Not quickly. But with enough time, enough work, enough genuine change, they can open. Marcus had just been invited back through the first door. There would be many more to pass through. Years of them. Maybe a lifetime. But he'd been given the chance to try. And this time, he wouldn't waste it. 6 months later. The Clearwater Bay Community Center's grand reopening was nothing like Marcus's old fundraisers. No champagne towers or jazz bands. No designer clothes or celebrity guests. Just the whole town showing up with casseroles and folding chairs, ready to celebrate something they'd built together. The building had been transformed. New roof, fresh paint, expanded library, updated computers for homework help. But the best addition was the corner where a bronze plaque read, "The Sarah Reed Reading Room, in honor of a mother who taught us all to care." Marcus stood back, watching kids run through the space, their laughter the only luxury that mattered. He wore jeans and a t-shirt that actually fit now. He'd donated all his expensive clothes months ago. His hands were calloused from construction work. His face was tan from hours spent outdoors. He looked, for the first time in a decade, like he belonged in Clearwater Bay. "She'd love this," a voice said beside him. Thomas stood there, looking healthier than he had in months. The surgery had saved Sarah, but rest and reduced stress had saved Thomas. They'd both aged backward since returning home permanently. "Is she coming?" Marcus asked, trying to keep the hope from his voice. "She's deciding. Some days are harder than others." Marcus nodded. He understood. Some wounds heal slowly. Trust rebuilt itself in increments so small they were almost invisible, until one day you looked back and realized how far you'd come. Over the past 6 months, he'd visited San Francisco twice a month. Never announced, never demanding attention. He'd sit with his mother, sometimes talking, often in silence. He'd fix things around their temporary apartment. He'd drive his father to medical appointments. He'd shown up, consistently, without fanfare or expectation. Slowly, so slowly, Sarah had softened. The hurt was still there, probably always would be. But alongside it grew something new, cautious hope that her son had truly changed. Marcus. Amy, the little girl from his first day volunteering, ran up and grabbed his hand. "Come see the new books. There's one about astronauts." He let her pull him toward the reading room, glancing back at his father. Thomas smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached his eyes. The reading room filled with children and volunteers. Mrs. Chen taught a sewing class in the corner. She'd taken over Sarah's old role, but insisted it was temporary, until the real teacher returns. Sheriff Davidson organized a chess tournament. Elena, who'd become a regular volunteer, helped kids with art projects. At 4 p.m., as golden afternoon light streamed through the new windows, the community center door opened. Sarah walked in. The room didn't fall silent. This wasn't a movie, but Marcus felt time slow. She looked fragile still, moving carefully, but her eyes were bright. She wore a simple dress she'd made herself, her first sewing project since the surgery. She scanned the room, taking in all the changes, the children, the life. Her eyes found the plaque with her name. "Oh," she said softly, hand to her heart. Marcus approached slowly, giving her space to retreat if needed. "Hi, Mom." "Marcus." She studied him like someone seeing a familiar landscape after a long absence, noting what had changed. "You really did this?" "We did this. The whole town. But yes, I helped." "Your hands," she said, taking them in hers, examining the calluses and scars. "These are working hands now. You taught me the value of work. I just forgot for a while." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I'm still angry with you sometimes. I wake up some mornings and remember that garage, and it hurts all over again." "I know. I'm sorry. I'll be sorry for the rest of my life. But," she continued, "I also wake up and remember you're in Clearwater Bay, helping children read, building things, keeping promises. And I think, maybe I didn't completely fail as a mother." "Mom, you never failed." "I did. But you loved me enough to give me a chance to be better." She touched his face, the gesture so familiar it broke something open in his chest. "You're thinner. I eat a lot less caviar now." She almost laughed. "Almost. Good. That stuff is overrated." Amy ran up, interrupting. "Are you Mrs. Reed? The one the room is named for?" Sarah knelt carefully to Amy's level. "I am. Mr. Marcus says you're the best teacher ever. Will you help me with reading? I'm getting better, but some words are still hard." Sarah looked at Marcus, then back at Amy. I would love to help you read. As Amy pulled Sarah toward the bookshelves, chattering excitedly, Thomas appeared beside Marcus. She's going to stay, Thomas said quietly. We both are. We're moving back next month. We missed home. I'll help you move. Whatever you need. We know you will. You've proven that. Elena joined them, watching Sarah interact with the children. She's beautiful, she said. I wish I'd met her that night. Really met her, not just witnessed her humiliation. Maybe you can get to know her now, Marcus suggested. I'd like that. As the afternoon wore on, the community center filled with the sounds of a town coming together. At one point, Marcus found himself standing in the doorway, watching his mother, truly happy for the first time in months, teaching Amy to sound out a difficult word. His father stood beside him. You did good, son. I have a long way to go still. True. But you're walking the right direction now. That's what matters. Later, as the crowd thinned, Sarah found Marcus cleaning up. She picked up a broom and worked alongside him in comfortable silence. Finally, she spoke. Your old company offered you your position back. I saw the email on the news. Marcus had declined publicly, explaining that he had more important work in Clearwater Bay. The story had gone viral, redemption narratives always did, but he'd ignored the attention. Yeah. Turns out I'm not interested. What are you interested in? He paused, thinking. This. Helping. Being present. Making sure kids like Amy know they're capable of anything. Making sure families like ours don't fall through cracks. Being the son you deserved all along. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then, have dinner with us tonight. At the cottage. Nothing fancy. Just family. Family. The word hit him like sunlight after years of darkness. I'd love that, Mom. She squeezed his arm and walked toward where Thomas was stacking chairs. Marcus stood there, broom in hand, feeling wealthier than he'd ever felt in his Silicon Valley mansion. Money could buy many things. But it couldn't buy this, being invited back to a family dinner after months of exile. Being trusted to show up. Being given a chance to be a son again. That evening, the three of them sat around the kitchen table in the cottage. Simple food, simple conversation, but rich with something Marcus had almost destroyed, love. Remember when you were 8, Sarah said, and you promised to buy me a house made of gold? Marcus laughed. I was an ambitious kid. You were a sweet kid who wanted his mother to be happy. You didn't need to buy me anything. You just needed to stay sweet. I lost my way for a while. A long while, Thomas added dryly. A very long while, Marcus agreed. Sarah reached across the table, taking both men's hands. But here we are. Broken and mended. That's what families do. They break and mend and break and mend. I won't break us again, Mom. I swear it. I believe you, she said. And the miracle was, she meant it. Outside, the ocean whispered its eternal rhythm. Inside, a family found its way back to each other, one dinner at a time, one conversation at a time, one kept promise at a time. Marcus went to bed that night in his childhood room, surrounded by trophies and posters and memories of who he used to be. But he wasn't that boy anymore. He wasn't the arrogant billionaire either. He was something new. Something better. Something earned through humility and work, and the hardest lesson of all, that success without gratitude is just another form of poverty. Tomorrow he'd wake up and volunteer at the community center. He'd help his father repair the porch. He'd have coffee with Elena. He'd live a simple life that, paradoxically, felt richer than anything he'd experienced before. Because he'd learned the truth that had been waiting for him all along. The hands that helped you stand are more valuable than any empire you can build standing on their backs. And a mother's forgiveness, earned through genuine change, is worth more than all the money in the world. The end. Thank you for following Marcus's journey from disgrace to redemption. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to African Tales for more stories about what truly matters in life. Comment below. What's one thing you'll do today to honor the people who sacrificed for you? Share this complete story with someone who needs a reminder that it's never too late to change, to apologize, to become better. Remember, your parents gave you your first home. Don't make them feel homeless in your success. Like, share, and subscribe. Until the next story, stay humble, stay grateful, stay human. Where are you watching from? Comment your location: New York, Los Angeles, Toronto, London, Nairobi, Lagos, Mumbai, Sydney. Let us know where in the world this story reached your heart. Thank you for being part of the African Tales community. Folded hands, red heart.